Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Around the Table GTA. We have our first returning guest. I'm gonna let him reintroduce himself.
Hey, I'm the mysterious Alex. I think that's my moniker.
Yes, and he's back, back from Uganda actually. So we're gonna talk about that for a bit and a bunch of different topics because you already know that this episode's gonna be interesting. We got Alex back on the podcast. So, how was your trip?
My trip was great. So my son was born 3 months before I went to Uganda, and the moment he turned 3 months, we decided to get on a plane. Very, very fun. Doing long trips with small children. I'm biased, but like my kids are pretty great. They were pretty quiet through most of it and pretty chill. But yeah, with a 3-month-old, there's not really like anything to like secure them in place, like seatbelts or anything. So we had to go and find planes that had like the little bassinets. But yeah, getting to Uganda took about 3 days, and with a 24-hour layover in Heathrow, and then coming back took like another 3 days. And yeah, I don't like traveling. I like being at the place, but the when people say like it's not about the destination, it's the journey. I'm like, no, 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 just get me straight to the destination. I don't, I don't need this sitting and doing nothing for hours on end.
So you would be interested in teleporting technology.
Oh yeah, if it wasn't for like in theory, a teleportation machine is a suicide machine. If it wasn't for that like small drawback, I'd be all about it.
Yeah, I heard like there's a theory where your clone, when you go into the machine, yourself is gone and it's actually a clone version on the other side, right? I think that's like our
Yeah,
sci-fi nerd.
that's pretty much
So,
it. It's the same thing when people say like, oh, in the future we're just going to upload our consciousness to computers. I'm like, I don't think that's how that's going to work. They might make a copy of your consciousness that might be able to fool other people into thinking it's you, but in all reality, you're probably not going to exist anymore.
exactly, and you're not gonna experience this. Everybody's gonna experience what they think of you, right?
Yeah.
But with your trip from and to Uganda, what have you kind of experienced? Because you're there for a while, right?
Yeah, I was there for 10 months.
So 10 months in Uganda, what what do you like about Uganda compared to over here, and what's something that you think is a good takeaway coming from Uganda?
House help, I think, is the greatest thing. Because house help there is basically if you just want someone to hang around your house and cook meals, do some light cleaning, do laundry and stuff like that, it'll cost you about $2 a day. And in addition to that, you have to provide them room and board, but like that's pretty negligible. So like if you had a house or a living space in Toronto and you have an extra bedroom, if you said like, oh, I could just get someone to live in there and I'll go to work for like 8 to 10 hours a day, and when I come back, I'll have a hot meal for me, like everything will be set. Um, yeah, it's very very convenient. Um, and that also goes into like childcare because right now, childcare in Toronto, if you aren't subsidized, you're looking at maybe like $1,200 per day per child. Whereas if you had house help, like you just pay them like $100 a month, and your kids are taken care of. You don't have to miss work. Everything's good. The other thing I'd really like to bring from Uganda back to here is, like I feel like the word community describes it pretty well, but it's just a sense like right now I'm in Agincourt in Scarborough, so like my area is pretty East Asian dominated, and I have neighbors, but my East Asian neighbors, no one's ever struck a conversation up with me. No one like my neighbors will say like hi in passing, but no one actually like tries to get to know anyone really. And I felt the same thing back when I lived in Vaughan. I felt the same thing when I lived in Etobicoke. Like people generally kind of just stick to their own little groups. But in Uganda, it seems like everyone is very friendly towards everyone. It's very. This may not be the best thing to say, but like as a white person, to be just completely, I didn't see any other white people. I saw maybe 20 other white people the entire time I was there, and for some reason they're all German tourists. And I would speak to them in German and be like, why did you decide to come to Uganda? Because I think if anything, as a Commonwealth country, it'd be British tourists. But all of them would just say like, the younger ones would say they're there for business, and the older ones were older men, and they would say they're just there for vacation. And I had a feeling it was like a certain type of tourism that they didn't feel comfortable talking about because all the old white guys from Germany that were there were usually with like a young 20-year-old beautiful girl that was like by them and like, oh, this is my friend. And I was like, oh, okay,
Wow.
cool, that's fun.
I didn't know you could speak German.
I'm not fluent, but I can speak like conversational German.
Okay,
And
can
all
you
of them
say
were,
something for the podcast?
oh, ich spreche Deutsch, wie geht's? Was wirst du spielen? Just basically like, just small talk. Wo ist das? Wo ist du Freund? Which is like, where's your friend? Whenever like they go and get drinks, stuff like that. And it's always good just to break the ice because then they'd ask me like, oh, where am I from? I'd be like, Canada. Like, oh, why are you here? And I'm like, I'm married to a Ugandan. And they're like, oh, and like some of them like, I'm trying to do the same. And I was like, no, like I met mine in Canada. And they're like, oh, and they always talk about like how great Ugandan women are and stuff like that, and I'm sure the majority of them are wonderful people, but whenever you have people that are living in objectively poverty, when they see an opportunity for them to get out of that, I'm not saying that's all they're not all just trying to get like a green card or anything like that, but I feel like they definitely do play up whatever the guy wants. They try and live into that, fit that mold. And yeah, it was really interesting. Like as a white guy, just being surrounded by like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of black, especially like downtown Kampala. Like I'd see like one other white person, and everyone else there is black. And everyone's just super friendly. Like no one, it felt like everyone was just there. Like, oh, hey, welcome. And if they saw I had a wedding ring, they'd call me Muko, which means like in-law. So people were just like, oh, hi, Muko, and stuff like that. Race there is like, I wouldn't say there's like no racism, but it's so jarring. So I think on the last podcast I talked about how like my mother-in-law called my children half-caste, but it wasn't meant in like a derogatory term or anything. It's like that's just the term.
Yeah.
So I was expecting when I went there, there'd be people that'd be like, oh, like you have beautiful half-caste children and stuff like that. But what's really interesting is like I'm white, my wife is black. All of my children are called white. They're not even called mixed. There's a name for mixed. There's half-caste and there's another name for mixed children. My kids are not considered mixed. They're considered white. And my wife, people that didn't know my wife on the street would say like, hello, wife of a white person, or mother of white children.
Wow.
In Luganda and stuff like that. And I'm like, that is so like surreal to me because I don't think, like I'm trying to think if there's like any parallels in Toronto. I don't think there's anywhere in Toronto people would start like addressing a woman by who she's married to or who she's the children of and like the race of the people that they're married to.
It could be like a language thing where it's because it's not as common, so how their language is just very descriptive.
Yes.
But it could also be derogatory. But I think because it was so common, maybe it's not meant to be derogatory, but from our Western knowledge is like, wow, that's very like,
yeah, because
I think my kids know that they look a little bit different,
yeah. And like especially like I think in the West when people bring up race, it's almost I'd say like 99.9% of the time it's I wouldn't say like derogatory, but it's playing into like not playing into, but bringing up racial politics.
Yeah, or
like,
it's something that's somewhat combative. I would say like 60% is it could be misunderstanding and stereotypes. Maybe 20% is I'm attacking you, so it's derogatory, and then I guess the other 20% is like curiosity to an extent, right?
Like when I was in so if you think of Kampala, it's like Toronto. There's a giant lake, Lake Victoria, and then just on the coast, on the west is Kampala, which is like Toronto to Lake Ontario, and we were in the section that's just east of Kampala. It's still considered Kampala, but it's called Mutungo.
So it's kind of like Scarborough House.
Yeah, so it's a lot
West,
like...
West Toronto.
Exactly.
When something's good's happening in Scarborough, it's West Toronto. But when something bad, it's Scarborough.
Yeah. And in all of Mutungo, there's probably like 100,000 people there. Yeah. There's one other white guy. He's an older white guy. And people don't call him white because he, quote-unquote, lives like a local. Okay. So, like, he's the one that's, like, going on, like, the cheapest, just basically living as cheaply as possible. He was an old guy, and I've actually met someone in Toronto, or Vaughan technically, that is an older white guy who has a Ugandan girlfriend, and he's planning to move to Uganda with $10,000 and just live off that because he thinks that Uganda is like super, super cheap to live in. And I'll say this much: food in Uganda, all the meat is more expensive, and all the vegetables are about half price. So
Wow. So it's to eat meat in Uganda is more than here in Canada.
yes, like if you go to KFC, the KFC workers in one day they make enough money to buy one drumstick in a 12-hour shift. Like
How's the difference with the chicken? Is it like does it
the
taste
chicken there,
better?
it's the KFC in Uganda is way better than the KFC in Canada.
Yeah. So
But,
you're not eating KFC here anymore.
yeah, but yeah, in that entire area, like anytime someone was talking about my wife, like we bought some land and we developed the land, and whenever they would say like, oh, like who bought that land, or like, oh, I have a shipment of tile or bricks, like where is it going? They'd be like, oh, it's the white guy's property, and everyone would know that there's only one guy, one white guy that owns property in Matungo.
Yeah.
So like it was interesting that like so many people I didn't even know would like know who I was, and like people like I don't want to. I'm very careful not to say anything that I don't want to have like a white savior kind of position where I'm like I went there and oh my gosh everyone there is so authentic. Like whenever you see like white travelers whenever they go to Africa or they go to India, they're like oh my gosh the culture and the people they're so beautiful and stuff like that. But like Ugandans they're pretty much like Torontonians but like a lot nicer, a lot more welcoming. Really appreciative. But I think it's just mostly because of like the difference in cost and availability of making money. Like for instance, when I was in Uganda, when I was overseeing, we built like apartment buildings, and as they were being built, there was a bunch of children that would come and just watch, and a lot of them were just coming like as soon as I started walking towards the property, I'd hear one kid, like obviously that saw me and just yell like Muzungu, which means like white person, and he's like Muzungu, and I just hear like this echo of like Muzungu go out, and like all these kids would run out, like 20 to 30 kids run out, and they would just all stand there and just like stare at me. And yeah, sorry. And they'll just kind of like stare at me, and like I'd wave to them, and they all get excited. And then one day I just went over, and 1,000 Ugandan shillings is worth about 40 cents. So I went and got like a roll of like 20 of them. It's like $8, and I went over to them, and I just started handing them all like 1,000 shillings each, and they got like super excited. But then, like the next time I came, they all came and they had their hands out.
No,
and I was just
yeah,
like, I was like, hey, what's
no.
up? And they're like, money, please. And it's just like, look, I can't do this every time. But yeah, even some areas I'd walk through, mothers would come with their children, and they'd ask me if I could just hold their children's hands. And in hindsight, maybe I should have done it because apparently their kids were like really excited. But for me, just like where I come from, touching a child I don't know in any way for any reason. If someone says like touch my child, I'm just like, no thanks. That's kind of off for me. But a lot of kids wanted to rub my tattoo though. Like even when I was walking around downtown, like adult men would just like reach out and like rub my arm just to see if my tattoo was real.
So what's that tattoo? I haven't.
Oh, so it's a snake around a syringe. Because a snake around a staff is a symbol for health, and then it has a ribbon that says diabetic, and then at the bottom it has MMI, which is the year I was diagnosed, 2001, and then there's a blank space, so whenever I get cured, it'll be finished to say that I had diabetes from 2001 till whenever.
Wow.
So clubs are very interesting because a lot like Toronto clubs, there's dancing clubs, and then there's clubs where people just kind of stand around and drink and like talk. The clubs in Uganda are almost exclusively they're so loud you cannot talk in them, so they're like dancing clubs, but no one dances. Like no one. There'll be like 200-300 people all just standing around drinking with music so loud no one can talk. And I was very confused because like I heard so much about Uganda, like oh the clubs are amazing, you go there, they have really good music, you can go there, and I was like oh great, that'd be great if I could go there and I could like maybe even like meet maybe not make some new friends, but at least talk to some locals. Because my wife's circle of friends, they're all like relatively upper middle class, if not like top 10%. So like it'd be nice if I could like talk to like Ugandans that aren't maybe in such a privileged situation, and I could like ask like hey what do you guys like do for fun, or like how do you find Uganda, what do you know about like outside. Because my wife went to an international school, so like she has a very different experience than the average Ugandan. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I went there and it's just really loud. The drinks, I wouldn't say they're overpriced or anything, but relative to what people make, it's I was a bit in shock at how much, like, there's some people there you could tell they have like regular like 9 to 5 job, or I shouldn't say 9 to 5. The average work day in Uganda is like 12 hours. Um, but people were spending what they'd make in a day is like what one beer would cost. Like if they make like $4 in a day, they'd spend $4 on like one beer. And people bring in like there's bottle service where it costs like 1.2 million shillings, which is like close to $500. And and so like that's someone's monthly salary, and for a lot of people there, that's like 3 months' salary for like one bottle of Hennessy.
Damn.
And I'm like, it's not even like, sorry to everyone who like loves Hennessy, but I was just like, it's not even that good of a liquor. It's just really good marketing.
You're gonna fight some people there, right?
Yeah.
But how was the music then? At least.
Music is pretty good. So I found in Uganda about 80% of the music, or I shouldn't say that. 60% of the music there is by Nigerian artists. I'd say 10% is by Ugandans, and there's about 30%, which is just kind of like whatever comes out of America.
Okay.
Yeah, the music is pretty good, but you can definitely tell in like the Ugandan music that the production quality is a bit lower. But yeah, I thought it was overall it's pretty good. I find it interesting how much of the Ugandan music is in Luganda because one of the official languages is English, so I feel like it'd have a bit more of a wide appeal if it did all of it in English. But yeah, overall,
It
I
was
don't know,
a
just
cool
really
experience.
really expensive drinks, no talking, really loud music, no dancing. A couple times people asked me if I could show them like dance moves from where I come from, and I'm just like, no, it's
You should have
okay.
did the show the Macarena, right?
Yeah, I do know the Napoleon Dynamite dance. I thought
Yeah.
about busting that one out,
Can
but
you imagine? You could have been like a viral meme,
I
and
could.
you passed up the
There's
opportunity
there's
there.
actually a guy. He just recently got deported, but his
Oh,
name was Muzungo Boda. So he was a
okay.
white guy that drove a motorcycle taxi, um, but he was just a tourist. He couldn't actually work there, so he just made a TikTok account
Mhm.
showing people of him actually performing work, and he went pretty famous. I'm not the biggest fan of his work though because everything he shows, he likes to show children a lot, and
Uh,
like it's a lot of I don't know if I call it like black exploitation or anything like that, but it's a lot of like, oh, look at these simple village people and like look how humble they are and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't think that's like the right vibe. I feel like you should do a lot more of like how people that live in Kampala are very much similar to people who live in Toronto, like they're city people,
yeah.
and there's small things that I think are not even so much like a Ugandan thing. I think it's just coming from me as like a white Canadian seeing like black Ugandans or just Ugandans in general. Like the amount of care they take in making sure their shoes are clean is
Yeah.
like extremely important to them. Um, like just even if they don't have like expensive shoes, just that the shoes that they do have are super clean. And there's a lot of people don't seem to care that much about whether or not their clothing is real.
Mhm.
I saw a lot of Louis Vuitton, a lot of Gucci, and like I look at like even my in-laws are wearing like polos and stuff. I was like, oh, you guys have polo here, and they would just laugh. And they're like, look, it's just a brand, it's just a name. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't, it's clothing. Why would I spend a bunch of money on it? So it gave me a new, I guess, new frame of mind for like how much people spend on things in Canada to just impress other people that they don't even know.
Yeah.
When there's like other things they could put that towards.
I think like it's a big African thing too, where like and I agree with the fashion where it if your clothes look good, it doesn't matter if like it's from Walmart, right? It's
Yep.
how you dress, right? Probably the quality won't be the same,
Yep.
right? But you have to do something so that you look good, right? It's about looking good, and a lot of people just overlook that because I have this shirt that's $800 from this name brand. It's just like it doesn't fit you, and you look like trash.
Yep.
So what's the point, right?
The
And
oversized Balenciagas.
exactly, and like I even think with like the shoe kind of thing, like when I went to Ghana, um, a humbling experience for me is that my my cousin cleaned my shoes, right? And I was just like, that's insane, right? But do you want to enjoy it? You don't want to enjoy it?
You could tell them about
Yeah, you know
what
what?
experience.
You should jump in even just for a small bit.
I don't know. I disagree in that point because I feel like ever
Hold on,
since
hold on,
I
come
came,
You
close.
gotta get
Let's introduce
closer
you.
so the audience can hear you.
So I'm Alex. This is my wife Sandra. Together we're Alexandra, and Sandra would like to say something about clothing.
clothing. Okay, it's just that I listened to the last what you were saying. I disagree. When I came to Canada, that's when my mindset actually about like the clothing, the brands, and all changed.
Oh,
Here it's more of okay, the basic need is clothing. You put on the clothing, you look good. That's it. Whereas where I come from in Uganda, which I think it's more of no, I don't want to drop in another culture, but I
no, we
closely I
want that.
also feel like with my Chinese friends at work resonate with me when I say this that in Uganda we really do care about those brands. People work so hard to afford a real like authentic shirt because I think it's different. Here you don't have to work so hard to actually just afford one piece of like a nice, let's say like Ralph Lauren, like a nice piece of gold. You, you know, it's just like a normal price tag with other clothing, whereas the other side is different. So that's why you find that those brands are actually making money. For example, when we went to like the Adidas store, you would think, oh, in Uganda, Adidas is not selling their winter clothing, but they actually have them there,
Winter
and
clothing.
people are buying them. Yeah, you saw people wear the winter clothing, the winter jackets, the fashion. Like they really do care about fashion. They do care about this
But
thing.
does it ever get that cold?
It never gets cold. Like it never. But for the fashion, people put it on, right? Because it really differentiates you from like, okay, I got the money. Like when you see somebody like that's something like I really feel like in Canada. People don't care about the brands here, but at home they are dying for those iPhones. Like it's different.
Okay,
It's
I
different.
like I like the different perspective, right? Because like that's where you're from, right?
Yeah.
And I guess yeah, it's a lot of work, and here it's work, but it's not the same because like Alex was talking about like the club, and people are spending like a month's worth for a beer, and
Oh
it's
yeah, because we drink a lot in Uganda.
yeah.
We like the alcohol. We're pretty like chill people, so it comes with the alcohol. So you gotta go. Yeah,
Yeah,
people drink a
so
lot there. And also, babe, just to tell you about the brands, when you bring like let's say like a syrup bottle in Uganda, like
mhm.
I remember when it just came out, those bottles were so expensive, but people were buying those bottles like a lot. Still with the brands, they will buy the really expensive alcohol.
So do you think it's more for status, or is it just because
Definitely.
it's so hard to get? It's a
It's
little bit more.
status. No, no, it's status. That's what I said. In Canada, people don't care about these things. They don't care about status. That's what I feel.
That's how you feel from your
But
experience.
but the other side, people really do care about status. I remember when he wanted us to rent. I'm like, nope. We're gonna have to buy a house. He's like, you know how expensive it is. And kind of like, well, now you know the price, so you just have to work towards it.
Okay.
It's that.
So
Exactly, because you feel good about owning a house than renting a house. Because he was telling me, oh, but you realize that even renting, you still have a home. I don't know. That's when I really thought about it. That oh, actually, yeah, you really do have a home, but it's just because I had not really been like when I was born. I realized my parents like bought a house, like you know that's what I was used to. But when he said it now, I realized that oh, actually, yeah, you do have a house, you do have this. But I come from also like a background whereby I think you value ownership more than renting. It's not about saying that oh, if somebody rents, they don't have a house. No, they do have a house, but it's just what you value more. So yeah, but for the clothing thing and all that, definitely, I think it's status because, like, I mean, why would I be spending my paycheck on just one clothing? It's status. It's just status.
okay, that's interesting, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that because a lot of different people have different mindsets, right?
Yeah.
You guys are married. I don't know how the contrast is, right?
Yeah.
But you guys are making it work. and it's very interesting because every time I meet you guys, you're always talking highly of each other, but you also think completely different,
Yeah. Oh
right?
yes, yes,
So,
yes, yes. Yeah,
there's
we really do think differently. But I like that some of the views that I have now stem really from Alex, and some of his views I feel like they stem really from me. But he's not losing like this is what I believe. I'm not losing that this is what I believe. But I get some of the things from him, and he gets some of the things from me.
And I think that's a really good segue into talking about modern day relationships, right? Because you guys, how long have you guys been married now?
Oh, it will be 3 years next month on the 6th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
thinking about it
three
makes
years
me
and you got
exactly.
two babies, right? And a lot of people in this day and age, I don't know if it's the internet, I don't know if it's because people are seeing things online, they think marriage is dead, people aren't going to get together. I think the last 3 years, I know 5 people got married and everybody's shocked, right?
It's how you do it. We went shopping this morning, and then this lady, she says, I'm doing the shopping, and Alex is sitting down with the kids, and she's just like, oh, I think you need to take this top because this one is more flexible with the kids picking them up and all. And I'm just like, no, it's been a while since I actually did that. Like I wake up and I go to work and I get back. It's when I pick up from them. So and I don't need like really nice, for evening lounging. So like she was very surprised to see that I am like, no, no, the father is actually dealing with that for now.
Yeah.
Because when I just given birth, I was dealing with more of like the baby care.
Yeah.
But now that I have gone back to work, I'm dealing more with work. And Alex is the one dropping off the kids to daycare. He's the one making sure they have all the things they need during the day, and he's the one picking them up. So he's doing the baby care more than I am right now. So you find that in different situations, it's not like this person is gonna be doing the baby care. This person, no, no, we take it as it comes. So
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people are forgetting about relationships. There's a lot of give and take. There's interchanging. I don't have kids yet,
yeah,
right? But when I do have kids,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to deal with that stuff. I just seem like kids. A bit of the podcast might have some baby crying. Sorry, guys. I gotta figure out.
Let's figure that
I gotta
out.
figure out how to edit that out, or maybe you'll just hear the beautiful screams of the children, right?
Yeah.
But the babies were with you, then they were with him, then we're with you. Now, they're all comfortable, nice and quiet.
Yeah.
They might join the podcast if they feel a little bit less shy. They haven't seen me in a while, and one just saw me, so probably not. But
I'd say that I feel like a lot of married couples, they see anything that has to do with the house or their home, I should say, as like a division of labor. So it's always like, okay, you do this and then I'll do that and then whatever. But really, you're working together. Like there are some days that I want to cook and Sandra doesn't, and it works out fine. There's some days that we both want to cook and then we usually just like fight to the death. No, I'm kidding. But
and then
like,
it's when we both don't want to cook.
yeah, like there's
and then we go eat out.
yeah, it's date night.
like
Yeah.
I'll change diapers or Sandra will change diapers and we never like sit down and be like, okay, you're the only one that's doing these things and then me, I'm the only one that's doing these things. Like cause some days I have days where I'll be honest, I don't feel I don't have the energy to do anything. And I'm not saying like, oh, well, you're the woman and like you're built, you're like it's in your DNA to do all the housework and stuff. It's just like, hey, I'm having not such a great day today. I'm gonna lay down, maybe take a nap. And then there's days where she, maybe she comes home from work and she's tired because it's about an hour and a half for her to get to work, hour and a half back, and she's like, I don't have the energy to like do a bunch of like cleaning and cooking stuff. I'm like, no, it's no problem. Like I'll do it. I feel like a lot of people look at marriage like it's a division of labor and it's almost like contractually obligated what you're supposed to do, but really you're just two people that are trying to work together to be as happy as you can together. And that's why like I also think that my wife and I have had a lot of conversations about just how lucky we are. We both have really good parents. We didn't have the best situation growing up, either of us, but like definitely better than a lot of other people, and like nothing to like our detriment. And both of us have like the full support of our moms and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of how you're how you're raised reflects how you are as an adult and like what sort of values you have. And I think that we've adopted a lot of those values.
You want to tell them how, because of my stories and because of your stories, we've forgiven our fathers?
Oh yeah, so when I met, can I say a thing or two about your dad?
Do you guys?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
How much of what he does for a living can I mention? Just the bar?
Right.
That's okay. I'll be like. So my father-in-law owns a bar that I've been to. It's great. He has 2 pool tables, and when I first went in there, I think it was all men that were working there. And in passing, I said something like, he should really just hire some women to like work here, because it was all guys working there, and it was all guys drinking there. And when I say it was all guys drinking there, he only had maybe like 3 patrons at a time, maximum. So when Sandra and I would go there, now it's like 5. And I was like, hey, if you had girls, you could really like improve. Sorry, I'm getting a bit off topic. I'll circle back to that. But my father-in-law owns a bar, and he's a really nice guy. He's really calm. So Sandra's dad, her parents never been married, but they live under the same roof. So they're common law married, and I feel like her dad in the past had a lot of stress, and I think as men we're not really taught how to deal with emotions or conflict in that sort of way, other than through violence. And my father was very much like that too. But my father, I feel like her dad was happy, and then when he got stressed, it would explode. Whereas my dad, I felt like he was never really happy, and he used a lot of fear and violence to like keep the house in order. So when I met Sandra, I hadn't talked to my dad in about 2 years at that point. And she was asking me when she asked me about my mom, I have nothing but nice things to say about my mom. And she's like, oh, what about your dad? I'm like, oh, I don't talk to him. She's like, you should really talk to your dad. I'm like, no, you don't know my dad. He's like, he's doing his best, but it's also like not the greatest, if I could just like put it that way. And he almost ruined my wedding, so like that was fun. He disowned me at my wedding.
At your wedding?
At my wedding, right before I was about to like have like this grand entrance, like introduction of like Sandra and I, like go through the doors and like all this music and stuff. He came up to me with a letter, an envelope in his hand, and he pushed it in my chest, and he said, "Here's your wedding gift. You're not my son anymore." And then like went to go leave, and I didn't take it super well, because I was like, because everyone in my mom's family said don't invite him. And I was like, but I have to invite him. He's my dad. Oh. And also my wife had talked to me and been like, your dad has to come to the wedding. And I was just like, okay. So I was kind of stunned there, holding the envelope. And he left, and he got in his car to go drive back to London. And his wife, my stepmother, got into the car. And then Sandra, in her full bridal gown, ran out of the wedding into the parking lot to go talk to my dad. And I think for the wedding guests, that was kind of a sight to see, because to the ceremony, through no fault of my wife, she was like an hour late to the wedding ceremony. So people were kind of like, murmuring, like, what's going on?
She's not gonna make it, and then your dad's
and then next
you're not my son.
Yeah, next thing they know, they just see her running out of the venue.
It's so like, oh no, she's bailing too.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then my wife is extremely good at social engineering, because my dad is he's impossible to talk to a lot of the time. I still don't know how she did it, but she went up there and she talked to him, and she told my stepmother to stop talking, because my stepmother was urging my stepmother was telling my dad that if my dad stayed at my wedding, she would lose all respect for him. So there's just some people like you're just like, why do you say the things you say? Why are you the way that you are?
Wow.
But Sandra went out there and talked to him for like 15 minutes or so and convinced him to come back in. And then my dad did come back in. He's like, okay, I'm coming back in, but I'm not giving a speech. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Thanks for staying. And then as he saw my mom give a speech and my brother and sister give a speech, suddenly he's like, no, like I now have to give a speech. Because like I'm here, and so my dad is he's chaos, pure chaos.
But we deal with him.
Yeah. So Sandra's learned to forgive her dad for how he is in the past, and I met the guy, and the entire time I was in Uganda, he's a very nice and like very happy, friendly, laid back type of guy. My dad is still very much chaos. But yeah, I think if I didn't meet Sandra, I wouldn't have talked to my dad. I would just continue not talking to him, because he's very he'll meet you in person and be like, "Oh, it's so great that we got back to like we're catching up and everything is good." And then as soon as you're away from each other, he'll call you up or he'll send you an email and he'll just tell you about like how you're the worst thing that's ever happened to his life, how he shouldn't have been born, like all
I
this
see.
just horrible stuff.
I think
And
he
it's just
probably
back and
just
forth
needs
chaos.
to get some help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he has something
I mean,
undiagnosed.
last time I talked to him, he says he has no friends and it's the happiest he's been in his life. And I was just like, what? He's just like, yeah. He's like, you don't need friends. Friends are just a distraction from what you need to do. I don't know. He's difficult. But Sandra's dad, I get along with that guy. He's great.
Thank you.
I'd go to his bar. He'd give me a beer. We'd play pool. Sandra's dad, insanely good at pool. Almost every Ugandan I played was insanely good at pool. I feel like because I don't think they're at the stage yet where they're chronically online, so they're still actually going out and doing things. So because of that, because pool is so popular, because a game of pool costs 25 cents roughly.
Yeah.
So like for 25 cents you have an hour of entertainment. So it's cheap to do, and yeah, everyone there was just like insanely good.
That'd be cool if they made a league or something and then maybe go
Like, go
international.
yeah.
That'd be really good.
Make some good money.
They do. Because I remember while I was in school, a friend of mine used to actually play pool like professionally.
But yeah, I feel like just to circle back on like relationships, finding the right person, and it's not so much finding. I mean, we can get like really philosophical about like are we like what's the guy's name? Ship of Theseus or whatever. Which is like how much of our personality is like actually us. Like as we change, are we still who we are if we change?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So like sometimes there's so much luck involved. Like if I met Sandra 5 years prior, I don't think we would have been together. And I think 5 years of us not meeting each other, and then 5 years in the future, I still don't think we would have been together. Maybe not even so much because of our personalities change, but just because maybe we meet someone else, and then that other person we meet, we decide we're gonna go all in on that person, sort of thing. So we just kind of met at the right time.
I think if I met you even when I was younger, you'd be the one.
Aww.
That's what I think. That's what I think, because I don't know. You're really great.
Oh,
I would
thank
say.
you. You're really great.
Yeah, you are.
All my strengths are her weaknesses. All her weaknesses are my strengths.
Yeah, that is so true.
Actually?
Yes.
So,
like,
can you guys give me an example?
everything.
Can you give me like one thing?
I'm really good at like math and numbers and figuring out a plan for things. Sandra's extremely good at being like the salesperson, like the one that's going forward and like forming connections. I'm terrible at like I can ask someone to do something, but as soon as they say no, like as soon as there's like any sort of like hesitance or rejection, I'm like, okay, no problem. Like I don't want to ever cause any like negativity or anything to escalate. But Sandra's very much, if she knows she's in the right, she will just like plow straight through, and like her talking to customer service people is like the greatest thing in the world. Like when you call up an airline and you book flights and you say these are non-refundable, and like no matter what happens, even if you get like hit by a bus and you're in the hospital, like it's not refundable under any circumstance. If it's not refundable in any circumstance, you still can't get a refund. Sandra's very good at calling up airline, and we've had to do it a few times now, where Sandra has to call up an airline and be like, look, I know that my husband bought tickets that are non-refundable. I need a refund. And they'll be like, yeah, we can't do that. You click on the little button that says accept all terms and conditions. And she's like, no, let me talk to someone that can help me. Or she'll be like, look, I know you're just doing your job, but I'm a person, you're a person. Let's find a way through this. And like, she has like a 99.99% success rate. She's returned things for cash value at Dollarama. Do you have any idea how insanely difficult that is?
I don't know. This one, babe.
What do you have to say for this? I see them laughing. We hear the laughing.
To get something for the kid, and you know how they cash it out,
Yeah.
and then they just cashed it out, and I realized, no, I actually don't want that. I want the other one.
Mhm.
So like we just did the exchange right there before I even came home. If I came home and then I had to return it, that's a return. but for this, I think that's different. I think that one's different.
Well, I think it's flattering that he sees you as Superwoman, right? And you guys compliment each other. So it's really nice because, like, I am in the dating market right now. And it's definitely interesting because everybody and their mom is talking to 3 people. And people want to plan things with you. Like, today, I'm supposed to have a date with somebody, right? But I know that they were going to flop. So you know what I did? I planned 5 different things. Has the person texted me or messaged me at all today? Absolutely not. right? But it's summertime in Canada. I'm not waiting on somebody to make plans if I know that you're not 100% serious,
Are you
right?
gonna
But
meet that person ever again?
I'll probably kind of talk with them, but it's just like I'm not wasting my time. Imagine if it was 4 p.m. right now, it's almost 5 p.m., and I'm waiting, diddling. Yeah, so are we gonna do anything? No, it's summertime, right? But it's people have their options, and they won't be honest with you. Like I think because you're very forward, it works, right? With him, he's very
Canadian.
negotiable, right? Or it's like, you know what, I think this works okay, right? But we're in kind of like a weird dating environment where people
Yeah.
aren't actually talking with people, right? Like when you reject someone in person, you feel it, right? Or if you someone says I love you or whatever in person, you feel it. But when you're on texting and swiping and everything, it doesn't. You don't feel the gravity of whatever you're saying or whatever you're doing. All right. I think that's my 2 cents on it.
You know what? I actually, this conversation we've had with Alex a lot of times when he says that, oh, you are Ugandan, that's why you're forward. And then he's like, I'm Canadian, that's why I'm not forward. But I do disagree with this thing. I really always think it's just personalities. That you're going to find some Canadians who are also like very forward. I haven't found one, but I believe.
In theory, there should be one. Right?
Yes, I believe there is one. You know what I mean?
I think
It's
it
the
could
same thing like
also.
from where I come from. I
Yeah.
believe there are people who are not forward too. Okay, maybe the majority might be forward, but I also believe that I think it's more of a personality thing than maybe where you come from.
It could be part of the culture too, right?
Culture.
Yeah, because like of my background, we're Ghanaian, right? And
Yeah.
I've had to learn to not say certain things, but in our culture, like let's say someone smells bad, right? You're gonna tell them, Alex, you smell bad, right? You should probably go take a shower. And some people hear that and be like, oh, how can you be so mean, right? But
Yeah.
how we view things is, I rather let you hear it from me,
Yeah.
something bad, so you could correct it instead of you being in public and then you overhear it. Oh no, Alex is coming in. Plug your nose, right?
Yeah, Alex one time let me like go to the mall with him and my tag for the shirt was out. Somebody else said to me like, "Oh, your tag is out," and then I looked at him and I'm like, "Babe," the whole time he's like, "I thought it was a fashion. I thought you wanted it like that." You know, I'm just
Yeah.
like, I wish you told me about this fashion.
But the thing is, everybody's different too. Because like, I had a situation where I stopped talking to the person. Well, they stopped talking to me because they had a situation where someone commented on how their hair looked, right?
Yeah.
And they were claiming that the person was being racist, right? I'm like, okay, send me a picture of your hair. She sent me a picture.
And you just like
The
this
man was
person wasn't-
100% right. Right? It's like you went out in public looking like that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised only one person said something. And I didn't say it like that. I'm not going to
Yeah.
be mean. I'm like,
Now me, I say it like that.
I'm not going to be harsh, right? Because I know how I can be, right? I've taken a lot of time to learn how to say things in a little bit of a nicer way because otherwise they'll cry or they'll never talk to me again
You know
and
what?
stuff like
Just
that.
to say something about that, I have learned how to say things in that way. I actually feel like yes, I have learned how to do that. But overall, when I look at how my like genuinely how happy I am after that, it's still like inside me. I'm like, oh, I should have said this one instead. That one, he's not getting it. Actually, like that. And I find that it's actually shifting my characteristics. It's shifting my whole personality to something else. And then some people they're meeting me and they're like, oh, so sweet. And I'm like, sweet. Like that? I didn't mean it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you say something that is really overly sweet, and then after you're like, I actually did not mean it in that way. I wanted you to like maybe do this, like for example, let's say you're home, and then you give somebody an option. You'd be like, hey babe, when you get a chance today, could you please do the laundry? When I come home and the laundry is not done, okay? I said, hey babe, when you get a chance, please. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did not get a chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like when I say, hey babe, can you do the laundry today? And then get out of the door.
Yeah, just to
And
make sure.
yes, just to make sure that
I need this done, right? But I think that's a
yes.
very African thing to do because, like, my work, I'm in management, right?
Yeah.
But I know I can't deal with everyone like
Yeah.
I'm an African because if I deal with everybody like I'm an African,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get fired,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like we have a multicultural workplace, so like sometimes like if I'm talking to Africans, my voice gets very loud, right? And then
Yeah.
people are like, why are you yelling at them? I'm like, no, I'm not yelling at them. It's just how you
Yeah.
talk with, and then like certain people, you kind of have to be a little bit like of a shapeshifter,
Yeah.
chameleon,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, just the directness from a child.
Yeah.
I'm saying it. So
Yeah.
it's a learned art, but I think it's also a Canadian thing too because people will stick to that. It's like, oh,
Oh my
she
God.
she said this or he said that.
Same
I'll
thing is
say
happening
I'll
to
say
me.
with Sandra, a lot of people when they first meet her, like my family was like that, and then she's very forward, and it's very jarring. I think especially for Canadians when they first meet her,
Yeah.
because like she works in a long-term care facility, and in administration, and like she'll be talking to someone on the phone, and she's like ask people like aren't like what is it? You told someone they're old? Yeah, you're old, right? And like stuff like that, or she'll call people fat, or she'll see a guy and she's like, oh, that guy's so ugly, and, like stuff like that, and like people are just like, like everyone's just like, how could you say that? That's so jarring. Like, why would you offend? And she's like, no, like that, but it is like she'll say like, oh, did you see the guy came through? And they'll be like, which guy? And she's like, oh, the ugly guy. And they'll be like, why? And she's like, but he is ugly.
Yeah.
Why are you guys getting so upset if that's an apt description of the person?
I think that's a very African core, right? Because
Yeah.
I was very like that to the point where, like, when I was at a young age, which I won't expose, I'm pretty sure it's past the statute of limitations or whatever. I convinced my parents to just keep me home because I would not, I would embarrass them, not on purpose, but I was just like, this person smells, this person's ugly. Why is this person so fat? Right? You just right? And even if it's in our language, right? But the same people, they're chilling with African people, so they understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it's African
Yeah,
core,
so I just
right?
have to tell people, like, you just have to understand Sandra's always coming from a good place.
Yeah,
And she doesn't attack people.
But that's what people
Yeah.
don't understand. But the thing is, when you speak like that, everybody knows who you're talking about. But like, I think it's shifted between like the mid 2000s to
Yeah.
now, where you can't really say or you shouldn't say certain things, right? Because it's not nice or whatever. But it's just like, if I'm thinking it and you're thinking it and he's thinking it, how are we gonna solve this problem, right? Because if this person smells, right, and we all have to work with this person who smells,
Yeah.
how are we gonna get the person to stop smelling bad?
Yeah.
Hey, right? Sometimes you have to be direct, and it works. Right?
And like, I don't want to make a whole podcast about my wife, but
It's
like,
okay.
she's so flowery. Like, you know how you have like birthday cards,
Mhm.
and it'll just have like, you just say like, dear whatever. It has the message already prompt already, like the template's there, and you just sign it at the bottom.
Mhm.
With Sandra, she'll take like every birthday card and she'll just fill it with like paragraphs. I'll be like, oh, I'm so glad to be celebrating your birthday. I remember that one time you did this for me, and I still remember, like, it's so, like, she puts, like, all this effort into me, and my whole family, whenever they open them, they're just like, why is there so much writing in here?
I think it's an appreciation thing, right? And
No, like this. I'm gonna say, I love. I love feelings, So when somebody's celebrating their birthday, it's been a whole year, like adding a new age,
Mhm.
So to me, it's just like, you didn't call me like just for the birthday. Like, you actually are thinking that this whole year I have made a difference, like I've contributed to these many days. So like, that's how I take it. So that's why I take time to really think, what gift should I get? What words should I say? Like, how do I want to make this person feel on this day?
Okay.
And then with that comes all the words of like, I remember how maybe we did that too, this, that, those special moments that have made up this 1 year. So I like, I love feelings.
Yeah, that's
I
nice.
do.
And even on WhatsApp, we have like a family group, which is like my whole family. And my family, I never realized it until I met Sandra, but my family's very formal. Like
Mhm.
my mom, I talk to her maybe like once every 2 weeks, and like my brother, I'll talk to maybe once every 2 months. And like we generally don't keep each other updated on our lives. It's more like our family group chat with like my aunts, my cousins, aunts, uncles, all that stuff. It's mostly about like organizing family events and like staying up to date. Like, hey, we're all meeting up here for like Thanksgiving and that sort of thing. But Sandra would just come in there and she'd be like, hey, I found this funny TikTok, and like share it in there. Or she'll just come in and be like, guys, I just had like the craziest day at work today, and she'll just like write a whole like diary entry about her day at work. And like everyone in my family, like maybe my mom will react out of like just kindness and stuff, but everyone else I'm sure just like maybe like, why is this person sharing so much about their personal life? She's just very, very open, and my family's very, very reserved. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic.
I think that's awesome, and that's the thing with people. Like everybody expresses themselves differently, right? Like I think we express the same stuff similarly, right? Sometimes I have to tone things down because it's just like um, last year I gave someone a present on Christmas because they did something for me at work, and they shouted me out. They basically highlighted like all of the things I was doing, and it made me feel really nice. And it's the first time someone in the company did that, right? So I got them flowers, right? And I was about to order these flowers, right? And my friend had to stop me. And it's like, wait, you have to make sure you tone it down a little bit, because like for me, I want you to know that I appreciate you, right? So like if I know, like I know you watched a WoW, or like you have your Borderlands thing, right? It's like, hey Alex, I need you to meet me at this place. It's very important. It's like the Borderlands creators are there. I'm like, oh my gosh, right? Like
Yeah.
that's, I want people to feel that because that's how I feel when I appreciate it, right? So I was gonna get these flowers, and it's just like, don't you think those seem like a little bit too romantic, right? But I know that if the person got them, they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like So I actually had to tone it down, but it was still an oh my gosh moment, right? So it makes sense, but everyone expresses things differently, right?
Yeah.
And I think even in the culture that has evolved in the last 20 years here in Canada, right? Because like in 2005, you know, people were not really talking too much about individualism. Fast forward to 2025, everybody wants to push their individualism, but it's still a Canadian culture. But we're at kind of like an iceberg moment where they were trying to ban like the Canadian anthem and stuff because people felt uncomfortable about it. But now everybody and their mom's bringing whatever flag they're from and they're waving it and they're still saying I'm proud to be Canadian. So it's strange how things kind of go in a circle, but they go like backwards as well. Where it's like, where did this come from? You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Uh, on the back of that, this part might get cut out. If not, great. If it does, I completely understand. So, white supremacy. No, I'm just kidding. So,
Cancel.
I will say this. I find it very interesting. I consider myself like moderate left because I feel like the left wants things to change and progress, and the right is more about there are these things that have been working, and they should keep on working. So between I'm more like center left because I think that there's a lot of stuff that's working, but I still think there's a lot of improvement that can be made. I find it very interesting that I think in recent years there's been a large rise of I think I've seen a lot of reports in like America that the young white men are now increasingly every year becoming more and more right wing, and people can't seem to quite figure it out. But to me, like I went to university or college, to be technical. I went to college in like 2011, and I had a sociology class, and they're discussing race and crime statistics, and why like on the face you can make certain assumptions, but if you dig deeper, you realize it's more systemic. And part of that was them saying, like, if you have a group of people and their whole life they're told that they're criminals, that they're bad, that they're not worth anything, then eventually they're going to steer more towards being criminals or criminal activity because they think, people already think I'm a criminal, why not?
Yeah.
And then, a decade or so later, now there's a whole group of people that I don't think there's any one thing that happened. I think it's just over time, like someone will say something about men or like white men and then be like, make a generalization, and then no one pushes back on it. They just go, well, yeah, that's true. And then it just more and more of that. And over years now, I think white men have been told like we're pretty much responsible for a lot of the world's problems, and we're violent. I know this is a bit weird to say, but I think all washrooms should be gender neutral because I think it just solves a lot of problems. And the entire reason, whenever someone says like, "Oh, washrooms definitely shouldn't be gender neutral," it's like, why? It's like because if you let men into women's spaces, they're gonna assault the men or assault the women. And just like if you're the fact that you don't want gender neutral washrooms because you think men are naturally predatory, like women are naturally at risk. It's this whole idea that I think all these identity politics are really just dividing people up more and more. I think all labels are chains. I don't think there's any label someone can put on them that won't instantly make someone else turned off from them somewhere out there. That just piggybacking off.
I'm gonna back off of that too, because I think it's very strange, and since we are on politics, if you remember the Wall Street thing, I don't remember.
Occupy Wall Street?
Yeah, Occupy Wall Street. Everybody before that, everybody wanted to be an individual. I'm not a group, right? After that, it's switched over to I'm an individual. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. Me. We're not this group, and it's very strange. And like going back to how you're talking about like the crime statistics too, right? Like someone told me, I thought it was ridiculous the first time I heard it, where it's like statistics are racist, right? And I'm like, that's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard, right? And then after I started looking into some statistics, and it's just like, well, because there's this many cops in these areas, there's more crime there. But if you put the same amount of cops in the areas or another area, you would find the same amount of crime. So the statistics were racist, right? So it's just strange how we kind of got into this place, and like even my counter for that, where it's just like, oh, if the world's this way because of white men, why did the white men do this, right? Who did they do it for, right? Yep. So you already know what I'm alluding to, because people weren't super interracial back then, right? So if the white men were doing all of these crazy things, who are they doing it for? They were doing it for the white ladies. So the loudest people against white men, usually online, are white women, but it's just like they're doing it for you. So so who's really the problem, right? But it's this is probably gonna get bloopered out, but it's just we don't want to get we don't want to go too crazy over there. It's not even really crazy. This is a topic for another day, right? When I finally get canceled, okay. Right? Okay. But it's just there's a lot of division for no reason, and it's radicalizing people in the wrong ways, right? If you check out my episode with the New Yorker, right? He's a Jamaican guy who was born here, and he had that same mentality where you're talking about how if a certain group is depicted a certain way, they'll think that's the cap, right? So he ended up going to Africa. He went to Ghana specifically. He's a Jamaican who speaks better Twi than I do, right? Because he lived there for a bit. But when he went over there, it opened his eyes because he saw every characteristic of black people there, right? So he went there, the class clown was black, the straight A student was black, this guy who did this great thing was black, this idiot was black. He saw like the big range that's like, okay, I could do anything, right? And a lot of people don't understand there's like a mental trap here. Like I've had that conversation with my parents where it's just like, you guys say, oh, we came over here back home, we had to do this and blah blah blah, right? But yes, you had to do the physical things that are hard, right? But I don't think you guys would be able to deal with the mental just gymnastics that like a black child is going up here, right? Like I broke down, like in grade 9, you learn about slavery, right? And everybody just assumes black people are slaves because that's where they start, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're here. Was there anything before that? Yes, but they don't talk about that unless you go to post secondary, right? So you're put in a mental trap, and then like if these people were racist and that the system is propping up racism there, and everybody's like, oh yeah, okay, so well,
And it's like the school I went to, the high school I went to was majority Somalian.
Mhm.
The majority of the students there were born in Somalia, and they came over. And I don't know too much about Somalia in terms of like how it's actually. All I heard about it when I was in Uganda is Somalia is basically like a failed state. It's a war zone. It gets a lot of aid because the country's just the government, everything's just failing there. So I don't know what their schools were like there, what the culture was like there. But the Somalians I met when I was in high school in Toronto, the way that they would behave in certain situations I found very interesting, because I felt like there's no way that what you guys, because I'll just cut to the point, if any student was doing well in class, they were made fun of and accused of trying to be white. And I'm like, there's no way that in Somalia, if you did well in school in Somalia, people were making fun of you and saying, oh, you're trying to be white. I felt like there was definitely some sort of outside culture within Toronto, or at least the Western world, that said if you're a black student and you're doing well in school, you're somehow not in lockstep with the rest of the culture and what it means to be, quote unquote, black. So
Yeah.
I found that very interesting, because if you're told that, if all your peers are telling you that you're doing something wrong by trying to get good grades, and I think everyone has a need to try and fit in, it's kind of like almost like crabs in a bucket sort of thing, where
Yeah.
like anyone that's trying to get out of that situation, everyone around them is like, no, like you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's strange, and like I usually say, there's a lot of programming, right? And you have to like we were driving the car and we're talking about like mindset, right? Because a lot of people talk about race and stuff, but a lot of it is class and mindset. Where I was talking about our last podcast episode where you're talking about the cabbage stuff, right? How your cultures
Yep.
have a bunch
Very
of
similar.
like very similar, right? It's just like who would have thought Germany and Uganda would have a lot of similarities, right? But we tend to color code a lot of stuff, whether it's drowning things in stereotype or not being able to relate with other people because we don't want to be seen in a certain way, right? And I think even with today's society, with all of this division, it's a lot of people just not going and talking to people, right? And um, if we want to relay it back to like men being open about certain stuff or dealing with stuff, it's not that men can't be, it's that the whole how we're talking about spaces, right? My last episode was called Spaces, so you should check that one out, right? But when you encroach in other people's spaces and you don't understand why the space is like that, you could try to morph it and change it into something else. Like you're a guy, you've been in a guy's locker room, right? We talk about a bunch of stuff, but it's not creepy. It's like a weird bonding experience, right? Sometimes weird stuff happens in the locker room, right? But at the end of the day, it's a time where men can be potentially vulnerable, or they're talking about different subjects, right? It's like I heard this podcast and they were talking about like third spaces where there's no third spaces anymore. So a third space is not. It's like
It's not
it's not
fun,
work.
but not work.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like a bar.
Yeah, it's like
Or
a bar
going
or
to
like
gym.
a club or whatever, and a lot of people are running away from those things, but they're coming back, right? People were using running clubs as a dating spot last year because it was an authentic way to meet people without kind of feeling awkward, right? And yeah, then people made it a dating thing, and then it became awkward.
I will say, I definitely feel like the internet and social media, and to a greater point, even the regular media now, because I feel like in order to stay relevant, so many traditional forms of media have now tried to conform to how the internet is because that's what's popular, and they're trying to not become obsolete. I feel like everyone's being pushed to like extremes. For instance, I think in like the '80s, if your girlfriend cheated on you and you broke up because you found them cheating, you go to your friends and you'd be like, yeah, she cheated on me. Like, wow, that sucks, man. Like, but there's other fish in the sea. Don't worry, they're not all like that. You can move on. But nowadays, your girlfriend cheats on you, and you go online and you make a Reddit post and you say, my girlfriend cheats on me, like, it sucks. You'll get like 100 guys that go like, yeah, all women are like that.
Mhm.
Like, they're all bad. I think that even the reverse is true. Like, there'll be a girl, I think there's girls out there that are like, oh, I dated a guy that wouldn't pay for food on our dates, and then it turns out he didn't want a real relationship, and he was just using me. And then like 100 women will come in and be like, yeah, if a guy doesn't buy you things, he's just using you. And like that's all men are like, and all men are trash. And like since they're in their little echo chambers and they're always pushing each other further away, like there's no real way that's gonna get healed. And like another example of that's like not gender specific is with Jewish people. There's a lot of right now with the whole Israel and Palestine thing. I won't go too much into it. All I'll say is I think anyone that targets civilians to further their political aims is a terrorist. Period. That's where I stand. But those people are saying like, oh, all Israelis are Zionists and all Zionists are evil. And when you go online, you'll find all these people saying like you'll find some of the most I'd say vocally upset Zionist people, and then people say like, oh yeah, all Jewish people want support occupancy, but then every single Jewish person I've ever met, I've met about 20, probably more if I didn't know in my life, but all the people I knew that were Jewish I've talked to, all extremely nice people, except for one, but there's always like the odd person,
nice, yeah.
But all of them are just really nice people. They don't care about religious politics or anything like that. Like all of them just want to like just be chill. But if you go online, it seems like every Jewish person either has to be like for everything Israel is doing, or they're not like a real Jewish person. And this kind of mindset that like all people of this group all think this way, and therefore that's what they are. On the internet, it's very easy to just get into echo chambers. Like you're not actually talking to people. A lot of people, there's not even conversations really. When people post comments on Facebook, they're not looking at the replies. They just want their comment to be seen.
Yeah.
And then I think so much of traffic on the internet is just driven by fear and hate. Like the more angry you can get people, like I know last interview we talked a bit about Andrew Tate, and I was saying like, oh, there's like a whole generation of I think young men that had fathers that didn't really actually want to raise them or like teach them values.
Yeah.
So now they're in a position where they're like, well, I don't have money, and I've been told that my value as a man depends on how much I can provide. So in order for me to have a sense of identity, I have to maximize how much I can provide. So they just start turning to whoever tells them like you can make a ton of money because then they'll have value.
Yeah.
And without addressing the underlying issue is you don't think you have value. Like it's getting that money isn't the issue here. It's that you yourself. It's like whenever I see posts about stuff, like there'll be a guy and he asks like flamboyant, or they'll get like something from Starbucks, and people will comment like, oh, he should have his man card revoked, or like he's not a real man, or like this and that. And to me, I'll say, I could talk for about an hour and a half about this. I don't think gender is real, but I will say that masculinity is self-defined. I think, like, you're a man, I'm a man. If someone tried to sit down with you and said, hey, I want to have a conversation with you, by the end of this conversation, you won't believe you're a man anymore. There's nothing they could say that at the end of that you're like, yeah, you're right. Because you're like, no, like, I'm a man, and whatever each person's individual, definition of what that means, it's self-imposed.
Yeah.
Like if you're a gay man or a trans man or a straight man or whatever you are, like it's all just like no one can actually like take that from you.
That's definitely an interesting roller coaster of topics, right? But yeah, it's true, and I think how you're talking about it's people's lack of image of self, right? Like, I recently had a conversation with someone where it's just like sometimes it's hard to deal with certain things, right? Like, for me, I've been single for a while, but a lot of people tell me that I'm attractive, right? But if I'm not getting results, it's okay. If I'm not getting results, I'm obviously not going to feel attractive, even if I am attractive, right? So I think a lot of these things that are online is it's because people are expecting a little bit too much or they're not getting stuff. Like the biggest reason why I'm single is because I don't go outside.
That'll do it.
Right? Yeah, like it's unless an airplane goes through my apartment and like a girl just drops in my bed, it's nothing's gonna happen. But anyways, yeah, the state of the world, I think, despite how doomer things can be, right? Because like how you're talking about the internet, a lot of stuff is compiled to just keep showing you what you're interacting with, right? So like recently, I sent this video to my Filipino friends because it was this white girl talking about, I think the algorithm thinks I'm Filipino, and it just kept sending her all this Filipino stuff, and then she was feeling guilty, right? It's just like, I I don't feel like I'm Filipino, and I feel like I'm encroaching in the culture, and you know talking to my individual friends, it's just like, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you see the comments, right, there's just stuff like, oh, that's what you get for colonizing us and stuff like that. It's just like, I think, like, there was a conspiracy theory, or was supposed to see theory. There was a conspiracy theory that was going to be a solar flare that takes out the internet for like a year.
Mhm.
I think that would be a good thing for society, except for the people like my friend who's in IT, or like need to find money elsewhere. But it's just like the reset that society needs. It has to be in a way where we're forced to kind of be more interactive, like how you're talking about in Uganda, where things were more community, where people are talking with each other, people know, right? It's just like you're in another city, it's like, yo, have you heard about the white guy? Yeah, the white guy. And you're like, how do you guys all know about him? So, because we all talk to each other. Duh, right? It's like I had a friend's wedding, and it was up north, and when we started heading over there, we were like the only outsiders. So there's some of us obviously look a little bit different. It's like, oh, you must be here for the wedding, right? It's just like, oh yeah, we're here. Oh, you must be here for the wedding, or hey, or like today we went to London, and we had a store opening, right? And or my friends had a store opening, and we're like, oh, we're lost. And like I was like, oh, you come to the store. The store's right here. It's just like it's nice having that stuff. But we're
Yeah,
gonna wrap it up.
I just want to add on to when you
Oh.
say that people know each other like different, like in Africa. That I just want to say that it's nice only if maybe okay. What I want to say is like at home, people really know my dad's dad, like my dad's family, like, cause
Yeah.
So it feels nice when I go back home and it's like, oh, Tony's daughter is back, But then everybody goes like, and she came with the husband. But when you go to like in the neighborhood to walk around, it's just like everybody knows exactly who you are.
Oh.
Everybody knows exactly who you are. It's like your kids are playing. It's like everybody knows who that grandkid is, and then they start even coming home like to just see you, like so.
But is that a good thing or a bad thing? How do you feel about
In
that?
in my perspective, if my family was known for bad, it should be a bad thing because I'll be ashamed, to. But because my grandpa worked like in the electricity company, he like really contributed to this neighborhood and all that, and they're known for things like developing the area, and of which now it's just like something that I also really love to do because it's what I used to see my family do. So I've taken my husband back, and now we are even doing the same thing. So we're like really developing this area, and we're among the young people who are actually like doing that now. They call my husband young investor.
Oh.
Yeah.
and you know, and whatever we're building is like bringing like a Canadian standard to like in this neighborhood. It's really nice. It's really nice that,
Like
but I
we're
really feel
taking empty lots of land or lots that have like very, very just like concrete bunkers of homes basically, and then we're rebuilding or building from scratch really nice apartments that like a Canadian standard on them.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So we're developing the neighborhood pretty nicely.
and just because people know that we are like my parents, we find that we get things like easily, you know, like they'll be like, oh, that's Sandra, oh, you don't know Johnny's daughter, come on, you know, and then you find that the conversation goes different even with dealing with the local who is gonna sell to you because of that relationship they have with my parents. They don't make it a big deal like to really take so much from you. It's just that, you know, they feel like now our children are now actually even trying to do something for themselves.
Okay,
So you find that it's a neat community, and you have where to start from. You know,
That's
like you
nice.
have where to start from.
because in Ghana, you know, they're gonna try to hustle you. Yo,
Yeah.
I don't know you, or it's like, oh,
Yes, because they
And-
don't know you.
and
If I went to a
this-
new area, that's how I would feel.
Yeah.
But here it's just that you feel like the community is it's a neat community.
okay. So we're gonna wrap it
Oh my
up.
god, sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
It's okay.
Just to bring my points, because I came with the point. When we wanted, like when we came back, Alex's mom told us that the house in the street is selling.
Mhm.
And we always wanted to like live close to her. So we're thinking, how can we get that house like this immediate? Because we've come back, it's on sale. And then I asked Alex, did you know what was the it was
Chelsea's grandmother?
Chelsea's grandma? I'm like, you know Chelsea, right? It's like, yeah. So you definitely know the grandma. And he's like, no, how? No, not really. And in my head, I'm just like, wait, on the same street, you don't know the old lady on the street, like you know what I mean? Cause then I'm just
don't
like,
talk to our
maybe we,
neighbors.
yeah, cause I'm just like, maybe we should go talk to her, you know? Maybe
Yeah.
tell us if it's the kids who need the money. We work out something, cause we really, really want the house, and we know we can pay. But just because we don't want the whole thing of going into the whole bidding, cause we've been beaten out of this where we put an offer, something is selling for 1 million, and then you put an offer for let's say 1.1, and somebody just pays 1.3. But you really need that. The other person is not going to realize that, oh, these people need it because they're going to be close to their mom. They're going to just take the money, right? So that's why. But I was very shocked. Something like that is like, she wouldn't know me. That's what they say. But me, like in my neighborhood where I grew up from, like everybody knows who I am. Like we're talking about thousands of people. Like you walk and they know who you are.
Yeah.
So when I want to buy their lot, I even told him that we need to buy our neighbor when he goes on. So maybe for Christmas we just spend like spend $30 for every Christmas. So he knows you're thinking about him. When he wants to sell, definitely you're the first person in their mind,
Yeah, it's strategic.
So yeah, I think culture is really different when it comes to that. Like we've been living here for 2 years, like really literally 2 years. The neighbor on the left, we say hi, that's about it. On the right, there's even no hi.
Oh, this one we say hi and they just glare at us.
Yeah, but they told us when we just moved in that the neighbor on the right, dad is not friendly. And I'm like, who is not friendly enough to say hi to Sandra? But oh my god, I have tried and I'm just like, yeah, they're like this one. Today, if maybe you're feeling in a good mood, they will talk to you. But then tomorrow, it's just like, I've never talked to you. And I'm just like, how? You know?
That's insane. So we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys for having me once again. We got some of the audio difficulties this time, but maybe we'll have a Sandra episode next time
Oh yeah.
where Sandra takes
She's very
the reins, right?
She was prom queen.
We've heard.
She had over 1,000 people at her 16th birthday.
Wow.
That's what she says the neighborhood knows her. It's like, yes, most of them came to her 16th birthday.
Wow.
Whole city, I should say.
So yeah, we'll have a Sandra episode. We'll have Alex in the back lines, chirping in. Thanks for having me once again. Yeah, this is gonna be pretty edited, right? But
I wish you the best of luck.
yeah, it is what it is. I got to get back on the podcast grind. Do you guys want to throw anything in? Any advertisements?
Um,
Yes, opulence.
oh yeah.
Yeah, our company. Throw
Okay,
it
so
in there.
once again, we got the opulence shout out. The information's gonna be in the description. What do you guys do?
We rent out centerpieces mostly, but also flowers, LED signs. If you have any baby showers coming up, we have a lot of different stuff for that.
Yeah, now we're thinking of actually expanding, like just to start doing the decorations and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think for any events, we're pretty much your guy to go to.
All right, so you guys heard that here first, maybe second, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.